Observe International Human Rights Day in South Africa. Land restitution and land claims are still some of the human rights issues that our country is faced with. To highlight this, the Land Claims Court was established in 1995 by the Restitution of Land Rights Act 22 of 1994. It is the adjudicatory body in relation to the state's land reform process. To talk about the work of the Land Claims Court, we are joined in studio by Justice Yasmin Meer, the acting judge president of the Land Claims Court. It's good to have you. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here.
Now, let's have a look at the significance of International Human Rights Day, especially in the context of land claims and restitution.
Well, it's very important to acknowledge land claims on a day like this because the land claims process in South Africa and the work of the Land Claims Court is involved in what we call restorative justice. It's aimed at restoring rights to those who didn't have them, in particular rights in land. As you've said, the land restitution process was established specifically to redress the wrongs of the past where people were dispossessed of rights in land going back to 1913.
Yeah. Let's look at the Land Claims Court. It was established in 1995 by the Restitution of Land Rights Act 22 of 1994. Let's dig a little bit deeper and have a look at some of the imbalances that exist here in South Africa in land ownership by transferring it to previously disadvantaged people.
Well, it's enormously challenging. The system that has been established to do this is a two-tier process. The Act not only established the Land Claims Court, it also established a Land Claims Commission. Now, in order for people to claim restoration or restitution of rights in land, they must show that they were dispossessed by a racial law or racial practice after 1913. They did not get just and equitable compensation. They can bring their claims directly to the court or they can take it to the commission, and those claims that are not resolved at the commission stage are then referred on to the court for adjudication.
Okay. How accessible is the Land Claims Court here in South Africa, though?
Well, it's hugely accessible, provided people know where we are and how to find us. And there has been quite a lot of education done about it. Just to tell you very briefly, the court is a permanent circuit court. So the court travels throughout the country hearing claims, and this was specifically done to enable the court to be accessible to indigenous people. The court also, in an attempt to be more accessible, has unconventional ways of adjudicating cases. Judges manage the cases from the outset. Lots of conferences are held before a case is brought to court. And importantly, those people who cannot afford legal aid are assisted both by the court and the commission in enabling them to pay for their claims.
Now, when we look at some of the areas that the court adjudicate disputes in, what are they?
Well, as I said, we adjudicate claims for restitution of rights in land, and that is, I think we're best known for that. We also adjudicate claims pertaining to labor tenants, who are persons who have historically lived on farms owned by others, and in exchange for their labor, they're allowed to stay on the farms. And then we also adjudicate eviction claims, predominantly pertaining to occupants or occupiers on farms.
Now, what have been some of the court's challenges with the disputes? Because I can't imagine it's all smooth sailing, as wonderful as it does sound. We know that it's not the smoothest process.
The challenges are significant. Firstly, producing evidence is always difficult when you have unsophisticated claimants and they're claiming for land that was dispossessed way back in 1913. Often the people who claim are the descendants of people who were dispossessed, so they might not have easy access to evidence. Then from a logistical point of view, for the court, travelling around, seeking venues to hear cases in, we've heard cases in the most unconventional types of venues. They're not always courtrooms available to us. The other big challenge is competing claims. You might have two or more communities claiming one piece of land, and that becomes challenging. and requires a lot of investigation.
I imagine the rural communities have a bit more of a complicated process to go through. Because when you look at the different rights because of the traditional leaders' roles compared to urban communities in claiming land, how do you balance that? How does that work?
Well, normally rural communities, when they're claiming lands, they would do so through a representative elected by the community. That in itself can be problematic because often there are challenges as to who is the authentic representative of the community. Urban claims are a lot easier because they don't generally involve communities. It is either the claimant himself or herself who was dispossessed or a direct descendant.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, I think this is an interesting subject that certainly has so many dimensions to it. But when you say, just on a closing note, to contact you, to get in touch with the Land Claims Court, where do people go? I mean, if they're not aware of how to get in touch with you.
The seat of the court is in Randburg.
Yeah.
The telephone number is 011-781-2291. The court is at the corner of Hill and Kent Street in Randburg. But every province has a land claims commission, and people can also access the court through land claims commissions.
Land claims commissions.
Yeah.
So get hold of there's one in your province,
There's one in every province. In most provinces.
Excellent. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being our guest here on the program. Justice Yasmin Meer, Acting Judge President of the Land Claims Court, talking to us on this International Human Rights Day and focusing in on the issue of land and land claims in South Africa.